Well, hello everybody. I am Linda with Sweet Aria Decor. I make lots of stuff for your home. This time we're focusing on, of course, Christmas. What else would we be making this time of year? So, this is a kit that I actually have available in my shop. And the focal point is this metal sign that says, I just want to bake cookies and watch Christmas movies, which is what I was doing today when I was putting out my Christmas tree. Thank you, Hallmark Channel. We are going to pair it with this, obviously looks gingerbread themed to me. This is a burlap deco mesh, but it's got the lime green and the red foil stripes, so that's super fun. And it plays off of this gingerbread ribbon, which I love so much. I like that it's got the dark green, but it also has some of the light green in there. So there is our little gingy friend paired with just a nice solid red. You can see the little pattern on that. It's kind of like a nice little woven texture on that. All right, and it's got the green edge. And then for fun, we're going to add in some 1.5 inch. This is the 1.5 inch that I have. It's got a little black, got a little green, got a little red, got a little white. All the colors we need. All right. So I'm going to put all this stuff off to the side. So when you buy a kit, it comes with everything, including the wreath frame. So we are going to be making this. This is going to be a thin wreath. I have a craft show coming up this weekend, and I need more thin wreaths. So that's why I chose this to make for tonight. Last week we made a biggie. This time I want to make something a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable. Well, hello, Leslie. Hello, Linda. How's it going tonight, ladies? Hopefully you're doing good. All right, so I have a lovely little thing here. This is Susie's triple stationary mesh roller. You can see it off to the side here. It holds my mesh, okay? So I like to have a mesh holder hold my mesh as I cut it. You don't have to have anything like this, but I gotta tell you, it really does make everything a lot easier. A lot easier to cut. So what I usually do when I'm cutting my mesh is we're gonna cut 12 pieces at 18 inches long a piece. But I like to start out cutting a straight line, right? Because sometimes when you get the mesh and it's a little, you know, a little loose at the end. So I'm just going to cut a nice straight line all the way up. There we go. All righty. 12 pieces, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. At 18 inches a piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. I didn't roll that very good. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh boy, starting to. I'm gonna move this up here. We got a lot going on here. So we got 8, 9. Making sure I don't cut what I've already got up there. 10, 11, and 12. I should have 6 pieces left on that roll of mesh, so I can use that in another wreath. So that's pretty awesome. That's why I like making these thin wreaths. I can pair it with a solid. I can alternate the colors. It's always fun. All right, now what I like to do, just to make my life easier, is I like to kind of flatten these out. So I will kind of just roll them off the table and just kind of stack them up. It makes it so that it doesn't roll off the table. There's nothing that makes me more stressed than when I see my mesh going over the other side of the table and then I have to go climb over a million things to go get it. So I'm just kind of rolling this down my stomach. This is where I'm leveraging the gut. The gut that God gave me is holding onto this mesh. I'm holding it with one hand and I'm just running it down the table so that I can stack this. All 12 pieces. And then I'm going to need something heavy to hold on top of it so it doesn't go flying all over the place. We'll figure out what I'll use in a minute. All right. 12 pieces cut at 18 inches. There they go. All right. That can stay right there. I'm bringing over my friend, the wreath frame. I'm going to move that over there. Okay, so here's my wreath frame. So when when I give you guys a kit, it's got 17 pipe cleaners in there. So it's 12 for the wreath, and then it's 2 for the sign, and then 3 for if you want to make 3 smaller bows. That's just an option, but you're probably going to have these left over. So we're going to put it underneath the ring. So let me back up here. When you're looking at this, you've got 4 rings and you've got 6 spines, okay? We're going to place this like a clock, okay? Rings 1 and 2 are on the inside, 3 and 4 are on the outside. And then here's your spine. I start at 6 o'clock and I'm going to bring this underneath. So I'm underneath ring 2 and I'm on the left side of the spine. I'm going to come over the top of the spine, come back down underneath ring 2, but now I'm on the right side of the spine, okay? And then bring it back up. So it kind of makes a W shape. Home of the Whopper. Okay. And then I'm just going to bring it together and twist it. This is how we're going to hold on our mesh and our ribbon, okay? We're going to do that all the way around. Under ring 2 to the left of the spine, over ring 1, under ring 2 on the right of the spine. Bring it over the top and give it a little twist. And there we go. Here we go. I know you guys have seen me make these thin wreaths before. But I'm going to try to link this video to my kit so that people can see which video it is. So, here we go. I hope everyone is getting into the Christmas spirit. I finally am. Like I said earlier, I got my tree up today. I'll tell you what, when we're all done with this, I will give you guys a preview of my tree. Yay. I didn't get anything else up, but I did get my Halloween stuff put away, and I washed my Halloween blankets and got those in a bin and put downstairs, which made me sad because I love my Halloween blanket. It's the pink and white reversible one with the ghosts on it from the at-home store. I bought 2. I had one, and then my daughter kept stealing it, so I had to buy her own. Okay, so I've got all 6 on the inside. Hey, Tina! Hey, how's it going? And Liz from Wild Wing Wreath Design. Okay, did everybody watch last week when I made that gorgeous snowman head wreath? Liz from Wild Wing Wreath Design is the one who makes and sells those beautiful attachments. I love it so much. I still have 2 more to make. I haven't gotten to it this week, Liz. I'm wiped out. Okay, so now we're going to go between the spines. We're just going to go, I like to put this resting on the top of ring 3, underneath 4, wrap it around 3, come back around 4 again. Okay, so again, we have our W shape. It's just not on a spine. But then we're going to give it a bit of a tighter tug, okay, because we don't want this sliding around. See how I'm pushing it and it doesn't move. We don't want it sliding around, but that goes between here and there, okay? That's how we're doing this. I haven't been selling a lot of wreaths at the craft shows, but I did sell 2 last week. And I had brought some of my older designs, but I think this week I'm going to try to bring some of my newer designs. That's why I wanted to do a thin wreath this time. Okay, again, top of ring 3, underneath 4, back over 3, back under 4. Bring it together and give it a tight twist. There we go. And of course, I got a weather alert today saying that this weekend the temperatures are going to start dropping and we could be seeing our first hints of snow. Well, great. I have a 7:30 and a 9:30 p.m. set up for this craft show. So, yay. Good times. Good times. Mother Nature does not like me when I set up for craft shows. Usually she ends up being like very windy and my wreath cart tends to go flying. All right, so here we go. We've got this done. We've got the mesh cut. It's time to cut the ribbons. It's time to cut the ribbons. Okay. I cut my ribbons at 14 inches a piece. So because we have 12 spots on here, okay, 6 on the inside, 6 on the outside. That's why we cut 12 pieces of mesh. Now we need to cut 12 pieces of ribbon. Now I'm going to do these 2.5 inch ones, obviously. On this one, you have the option of you can cut this one as well to have 3 different ribbons going in here, or you can just save it and use this strictly just for the bow if you want to. That's an option. I am going to cut tails for this though because I want this to be a bit more full. So let me get the pins out of there. I'm going to cut my red first. All right. And remember, I need 12, so You can pull it out on a board, have something you can measure it on, and cut them individually, but I have this ribbon tail board, which is awesome. And I'm going to cut 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. And then I usually throw the rest of the roll inside the wreath ring so it doesn't go rolling off the table, which it usually does. All right. I'm just going to take my scissors and go right down. You see that hole? It's already got a path for me to go from where it was on the board. So I'm just going to follow that. Go right on through either side. All right. If your scissors aren't that sharp, you can always kind of do it in groups of 2, the 2 groups of 6, whatever you need to do. Okay. So now I have my ribbon tails. I'm going to dovetail them. Let me show you what a dovetail shape is first, and then we'll talk how we've done it. Oops, get that there. That is a dovetail shape. It makes a little V shape at the end. What we do is we make it nice and stacked, put all of our wired ends together as evenly as possible, and then we're going to cut angled from the inside outward toward the wires. Okay? And there we go. So that's how we do it. That's how she roll. These lights are making me hot and sweaty. And I had McDonald's for dinner, so I really hope that I don't end up having a stomach ache in the middle of this. If I suddenly bolt, just hold on, because you know where I went, right? Here we go. But I left my Coke Zero in the other room. Shall I survive? Oh my God, it's going to be so hard not to have my Coke Zero here. All right, now we're going to go cut the gingerbread. This obviously is the primary ribbon. I love this so much. I bought a bunch of this before I really knew what I was going to use it for. And then I found that sign, and I was like, that is perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. All right. I am going to be offering a new option on my wreath kits. The thin ones, I think, only to start. But for an extra $5, I will pre-cut your 12 pieces of mesh, and I will pre-cut and dovetail your ribbon tails. Because a customer asked me to do that this week, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I don't offer that. Oh, you know what? I should. So I'm going to be having that as a selectable option. I have to figure out how to do that in Etsy on my listings. But I figure that might be an option. And also another option would be for an additional $5, I will make your bow. And then we can, see how well that goes, but it's not required. The base price is still going to be there if you want to make your own. If you got a vision of how you want to do it, or there's, you want to cut your own. Some people like to just cut their own. Then that obviously is something that would be there. But I've got lots and lots of wreath kits in my shop. I just sold some Easter wreath kits and some 4th of July. So I got that out there, but I've got lots of Christmas as well. I got some thin wreaths, but I also have larger wreaths, ones that are done on those OAD work frames, but also some that are on evergreen wreaths, and I actually give you the evergreen wreath. Thanks to Hobby Lobby for having big sales last year. Okay, and this is the last one. I'm going to cut the 1.5. Here we go, and I want to go see my comments. Here we go. Oh, Tina saw that with the snow, right? That's crazy. Shelly, hello. Ravina, hey, how's it going? Heavy frost on your deck when you have shows. Yeah, isn't it the worst? Mother Nature just knows, and she's like, what can I do to mess with you this weekend? Oh, I know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Honestly, I did not make that much for this week's craft show because the last craft show that I had did not go well. It's one that I had been in and I have done wonderfully in previous years. They have new people running it this year, and it just was it was a disaster. The parking was an issue. kids going to, and parents going to watch IHSA sports ended up parking all in the parking lots meant for the people who wanted to shop, and the downtown was closed because of trick-or-treating stuff, and it was just, so people were parking at the school. It was a mess. But they also didn't advertise with any physical signs at any of the intersections. So I made about a third what I usually do. I only sold 3 tomato cage trees. So obviously I didn't have to worry about making any, which I guess was kind of a good thing in a way, but all that work for 2 days, and I only made $700, and that's not counting what I had to pay for my booth. So a little bit of transparency there. That's kind of how it was going. I know I was expecting it to be, you know, down at least maybe 20% because of the economy. But all the people though were saying that it was just awful. And I went to watch another craft show. My friend Lila did a craft show at a different high school last weekend, and I went, and she did great, and it was wonderful attendance and marked well. So I'm happy that she did great at that show. So I think it was more the show. I don't think it was the economy. Okay. I'm going to put these ribbons off to the side for now. Okay, I'm going to use these for the bow in a little bit. Let me get my tails off of here because I like to have a clean workspace. All right. Into the garbage can. Yay! I used to save all those little pieces in a jar. And then I had made too many wreaths, and I was like, what am I keeping this for? All right. So now I'm bringing this all back. We have our 3 types of ribbon that I'm going to put over here on the side. Okay. And we have our mesh and our frame. I think a better way to do this. Here we go. All right, I'm going to put the frame up there. All right, so I'm going to show you. I'm laying out my piece of mesh. Now I'm trying to lay it flat. You can see it wants to curl up. It wants to follow a natural curl. We are going to try to lay it flat. Flatten that baby, okay? And then finding the center point. Fortunately, this green stripe, and that's why I loved using plaid or stripe mesh, I can just go right up this. So we're just going to gather, 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 gather. All right, look what we have. I'm going to put that right over. Now, I did not open up those pipe cleaners. I just straddled it right on there, and now I'm twisting it, okay? And that's, you're like, huh, what? Because we have to now spread it out. We want it to look like a circle shape, okay? So we are going to overlap one over the other. Credit where credit is due. I learned this method from Sincerely Creative Mom, Coach Melissa with Deco Exchange. She's fantastic. And she calls this her pancake method. She has a different frame now she uses. I still use these wire frames from Dollar Tree. But Ravenna found out they're not making the candy cane frames this year. Oh, the humanity. It's terrible. I'm so upset. I'm so upset. Because I love making these. I love making these. They're a huge seller for me. And the fact that they don't have it this year. There's some on Amazon. But I don't know. I'm going to sell what I got for this year, and I'll worry about it next year. Okay, so now there's 2 options we can do. We can put all the mesh on and then go around and put all the ribbon on. Or we can put the mesh and then the ribbon, and then the mesh and then the ribbon. Which I think is how I'm going to do it. I call this the lazy method, okay? So I'm just going to undo that. And you can see it's not poking out. It's staying in there. It's staying in there really well. All right? So I'm just going to go and let's go stack my mesh. Or stack my ribbons. 1, 2. Now my gingerbread guy, see, he's directional. So I'm going to make sure that his feet are facing the right-hand side. And then 3. All right? And then I'm going to fold it in half. And then press down. I want to make a crease so I can see that as my middle point. So I'm just going to gather it up there. All right. And then I'll kind of make like, I'm going to make my V. Go in there. All right. And then give it a nice little twisty. There we go. Trim off the rest. And then I'm going to open up. I call this, I'm putting it between the butt cheeks, okay? I'm spreading the butt cheeks. I'm pushing it back behind, around to the back of the wreath frame. And there's only an inch of it, so it doesn't have to wrap around anything. It just kind of has to poke there. And then I'm bringing this back. Okay? So that's what we have. Ew, there's some glue string on that. Yeah. But now we have to separate these out. So I'm going to separate out all these ribbons. So I'm going to take my bottom one, comes up to the right, middle, and down. All right, I'm going to do the same thing over here. It goes red, and then gingerbread, and then 1.5 inch. Now you can decide to change it. You can put all the reds on the outside, and then the gingerbreads, and then both stripes in the middle. I just like to do it this way. Because, I don't know. That's just, it's personal preference. However you want to put it on there, that's your business, girl. That's your business, girl or guy. All right. Here we go. I'm going around and doing the second one. Again, this is the lazy pancake method where I'm putting it both on at once because I don't want to have to come back and untwist and then retwist. The only thing we have to do when we're doing lazy pancake is make sure that the ribbons are not, the ends of the ribbon aren't underneath the next mesh ruffle. And that literally takes like 5 seconds just to fix that. Okay, here we go. It looks like a bow tie shape. It looks like farfalle pasta. Yay. All right, putting it on top of my pipe cleaner. Bring it in here, give it a nice tight twist. All right, overlap my ends. I like to overlap left over right, both on top and the bottom. And let's go get some ribbons. So how are you guys doing with your sales so far with Christmas? Are they going okay? Are you seeing a lot of sales? I know Liz was getting a lot of sales of that snowman head. Yay! Here we go. Putting it in here. I did have a customer purchase 9 wreath kits from me in one order, which was, that made my week. That made my week. I was so incredibly happy. That was awesome. I was very happy to see that. All right, I'm putting it between the butt crack. And now I'm overlapping again. There we go. Here we go. After this, I think I'm going to sit back down and see if my daughter wants to keep watching. She convinced me to watch Stranger Things. I had watched season 1 when Mike was still alive. I watched it with him because he wanted to. I don't like scary stuff at all. I really don't like scary stuff, but Aria wants me to watch it with her, so I will. And she's like, it's not that scary. And then this big monster thing came on. She's like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm like, you wanted to watch it, girl. I wanted to watch my Christmas Hallmark movie. I do love that it's Christmas Hallmark movie season. Just a couple of sales, Tina. Yeah, I think maybe after this weekend it's going to start kind of kicking off a little bit more because I think people are still kind of in their end of Halloween mode. I still have my Halloween decorations up outside. It wasn't much. I really wimped out on it this year. I just had 2 inflatables and 2 things stuck in my pot and 2 light up blow mold things that are just sitting on the porch. But I did get professional landscape lighting, so now I have to go get the colored bulbs for it so that I can have just my red and green lights out there. I'm not doing string lights anymore. I'm too old and too tired for this. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what it looks like. My neighbor across the street had the same company do the landscaping in the same kind of package and design because they were actually over at my neighbor's first. And I was like, oh, hey, I heard you guys talking. And so I kind of poached them. But no, not really. They installed both of ours on the same day. It worked out really good. But the neighbors across the way put up, they did, I think it was green and purple Halloween lights in there. And they looked really cool. So I was like, that looks awesome. So I want to try to get lights. I went and looked at Menards and they didn't have the bulbs. But we'll see. I don't know if my adult kids are going to be disappointed that I don't have all the other lights up. But I'm like, they only come here for Christmas. And if you like them, you can put them up at your own house. I'm tired. Mama's tired. Mama Linda is tired. Here we go. All right. So we've got 3 of them on there. Now we're going to go number 4. But I feel more accomplished, like, looking at what I have done. That's why I like to do lazy pancake method, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to go back and reopen or redo anything, you know. It just seems a lot easier for me to, I just like doing it this way. Here we go. And then when I'm all done with this first row on the bottom rings, then I will go ahead and check my ribbon overlap. Okay, here we go. And I'll do my thing again. And if you're watching this on a replay, you can probably fast forward all this part where if you've already done this and you know what you're doing, go ahead and fast forward through this part. But stop before you get to the top rung, just because I want to check in, make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, bending it down into a V. Pre-bending it kind of makes it spread out a little bit better. All right, here we go. I'm already exhausted thinking about the craft show this weekend. It's about maybe a 35-minute drive from here. Maybe a little bit longer in traffic. That's not too bad. It's up by kind of close to where my son lives with his grandparents. We moved in with them to help with his dad. His dad has some very serious heart trouble, but turns out he is not going to be coming home from the hospital. So, if y'all could just say a little prayer for my ex-husband, I'd really appreciate it, because he's kind of basically in a palliative care situation right now. It's gonna hurt real bad real soon. I want to spare my kids from pain, but this is not something that I can protect them from, unfortunately. And they're older, you know, 26 and 28, well, almost 26 and 28, but, you know, when heartbreaks come and you can't protect your kids, it makes you feel helpless, and I hate that feeling. I really hate that feeling. So, that's why I craft. It's therapy. Gives me back a sense of control, which is what I need in times like this, because life sucks sometimes. There's nothing you can do. So, therefore, we craft. That's all I know how to do to cope. Well, that and eat. And that's not going to help me in the long run. No siree. Nope. All right, here we go. So Patricia, you can go to sweetariadecor.com to order kits. That redirects you to my Etsy site, and that's going to take you right there. So once you're on Etsy, go to Sweet Aria, it's A-R-I-A, Decor, on Etsy, or .com, and then it'll take you to my Etsy shop. It's going to show you my whole shop. If you go and click, there's a box that says, I think it says categories. If you click on that, you'll be able to click Wreath Kits, and then that'll just take you to where all the kits are. Now, I don't have the option listed yet for me to do the cutting. So right now they come and you have to cut it yourself, but I will shortly be adding an option where you can select to have me cut the materials for you, and then another option for me to make the bow. Now, I'm only going to offer that right now on the thin wreath kits, because with the thicker wreath kits, you know, people may want to use the ribbon for cascades. They may not want ribbon tails, etc. They might want, you know, to do different things. So I'm not going to offer that on the larger wreath kits that come with the evergreeners or the OED work frames, just the thin ones for now. But I've got gingerbread. I have several, multiple different kinds of cardinal wreaths out there for those kits. I've got an O-Snap gingerbread. I've got a real thicker one that says Home for the Holidays. It features a little red house. It's really, really cute. Lots of different ones. Here we go. Here we go. The last one on the outside. I just like putting together kits for people, because sometimes you're not sure, what do I pair this with, you know, or, you know, I'm not sure what to do. So all of my kits come with a written instruction sheet, because some people follow along written instructions much better. But then it also either shows you, here's a link to a video for me making that exact wreath, or here is a link to my YouTube page, and then you can scroll through and find which one has the style and sign placement that you want to use for yours. So while the materials may look different, it's still the same process, the same kind of, you know, the same function. You do the same steps. Because like some of them have, okay, we're going to do 3 little bows instead of 1 big bow. We're going to put the bow in the top right. We're going to put the bow in the bottom. You know, it's just all basically different ways of how people want to make their wreaths look different. So I'm going to be able to update the listing for this particular kit to show a picture of the finished wreath. Okay, so remember when I said the lazy method, we have to go through now. Do you see how this mesh is sitting on top of these ribbons? All I got to do is just do that, okay? Make sure that the ribbons are on top of the mesh. There, done. That is the only difference I've ever noticed between going through and putting all the mesh on and then putting all the ribbons. All right, now we're going to do the inside. So what I like to do is I'm going to find my pipe cleaners on the inside, and I'm going to poke them up so that I don't have to go searching for them. So I'm going to bring them up between the mesh ruffles. It makes it just easier, just an extra, you know, 10, 15 seconds to go find it, and then that way you're not fumbling to find it when your hands are all occupied. All right, here we go. And it's always between a set of ruffles. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. All right, and it's the same process. This is the exact same thing that we did before. We're going to do the mesh the same way. We're going to do the ribbons the same way. It's all the same. Oh, Tina, thank you so much for the hugs. It's hard. You know, you just want to spare your kids from heartache and the rest of the family and his parents. And it's just, it just breaks my spirit, you know. I've seen my daughter and my stepkids go through losing their dad, and it sucks. It just sucks. So, you know. But it also teaches you what's important in life and what you should focus on. You know, I know Aria's got a lot of, she's a very compassionate kid based on what she's been through with losing her dad. So she's got a lot of compassion for other people, especially those she knows that have been in tough situations. So, you know, I guess there's a silver lining you can take from that, is that there's always, in every bad situation, there's always a way to say, okay, but I learned this from that, or, you know, find some positive, some light among the darkness. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do. Here we go. We are at the mere whim of life. And life does not care what plans you have. Life laughs in the face of your plans and says, ha ha ha, no, I shall mess with you. You know, here we go. Alrighty. Again, I'm going to part the C's. I'm going to part the butt crack, pushing that pipe cleaner behind there, re-overlapping. Now, fortunately, because this is a very large square sign we're going to be putting in the middle, we don't need anything, and we don't have to worry about what you can see in the middle, because that's all going to be behind the sign. But it's not going to be directly in the center. We're going to talk about sign placement. Once I get this all done, we're going to put the sign on here, kind of talk different options, where we could put it. And I have not yet glued the cable tie mounts to the back of the sign, because I wanted to wait and see what I was going to do. So we're going to do that, and then we'll make the bow. And then while that's, we're going to make the bow while that's drying. And then we'll go back and put the sign on. All right. Coming back around with the mesh, mesh, mesh. Coming back around with the mesh. Here we go. All right. Did I tell you guys what my Christmas tree theme is? I don't know if I mentioned it. I might have mentioned it on a different live. I know I did go live last night on TikTok making a new tree topper bow. And some tails. I kind of did a different method. I'll show you guys when we're done. I did a different method I have not done before, and I wasn't sure about it. I literally was up tossing and turning half the night wondering whether I liked it or not. And it turns out I did. Once I got everything else on there, I was like, oh, okay, you know, that works. But here we go. But that's why I keep, like, the basis of what's on my tree is red and white. And then that way, if I want to do elf, I bring the elf things back, and I can add in a touch of the lime green. If I want just peppermint, I'll just leave all the green out. So it's kind of nice to be able to change up the tree each year without having to buy entirely new stuff. Just some of the accents are different. Like I didn't put the peppermint stuff in this year. Do you think it would look okay if you put different ribbons on that row of puffs or not? You could, if you wanted to. If you wanted to say, hey, on the top, I want to use this ribbon, and on the bottom, I want to use a different ribbon. I've seen wreaths like that before. Yeah, you can absolutely do whatever you want. Or you can choose, you know, to you know, group them differently if you wanted, like these two in the middle. Those two, you know, and then the red, so you could do it like this as well. That's an option. Or you could have entirely different ribbons. The whole thing is like when you buy a kit, it's like a starting point, but you want to put your own little flourish on it, right? You want to make it yours because that's what makes it unique to you. And I think that's why people like to make things, is because, hey, I put my own hard work into this, and it carries a little more weight when you look at it, you know? That's why I love crafting. I also don't like when you go into the big box stores and you're like, oh, there's a cute little wreath, and it's just basically a bunch of picks shoved into a styrofoam wreath frame, and it's like $40, and it's not going to hold up. After one season, that thing's going to be in the trash. You know, and people are like, well, I could buy that at Michael's for blah, blah, blah. Okay, but how is it constructed, and how long are you going to have it? You know, people don't often think about that. So that's why sometimes I think it's nice to say, hey, I know I made this. I know it's quality materials. It's going to hold up. I'm going to take care of it. That's the other thing too, though. A wreath is only as good as how well you store it. A lot of people sometimes just kind of throw it somewhere or shove it in a bin, you know, and it's like, but you need to take care of it, because then when you take it back out next year, you know, if it has nice wired ribbons, you can refluff everything. If things are really, really wrinkled, I have a handheld steamer that I bring out, and you can steam the ribbons. Sometimes you can even steam the wrinkles out of mesh. I've also used a hair dryer, not right up close, but just to kind of warm it up a little bit so that I could take my hands in there and kind of refluff or de-wrinkle what I saw in there. You know, that didn't look perfect, and then it ended up looking perfect, you know, just like new. But that's why using wired ribbon is so key, because that's what kind of lets you go back and reshape. And if you don't use that, then it just ends up, it doesn't look great, and then things get floppy, and then it just looks flaccid for lack of a better term. You know where my mind is going. You know where my mind is going. Oh, guys, okay, I didn't notice this. I'm coming back out. I did not notice that there is a splice in one of the ribbons, so I'm going to reopen this. It's not very noticeable, but I'm noticing it, and because it's on the top row, I want to change it. So if you can look here, it's on the red one. You can see there's a seam here, and it's kind of overlapping. It's not terribly noticeable, but I know it's there, so I'm going to cut another tail, and that was 14 inches. Okay. That's why I like to give everybody full rolls if I can. In a wreath kit, sometimes I've actually bought 50-yard spools, and I will go through and, you know, kind of wrap it or remeasure that off of there. But if I do that, I can see if there's a splice, so you won't have that problem. All right, let's try that again once more from the beginning. Here we go. Sorry. If this were my own wreath, it might not bother me so much, but because I'm, you know, it's going to be listed and it's going to be for sale, I don't want to give my customers anything that is not perfect. That would bother me. They're paying good money, and it needs to be good quality. Alrighty. Separating it out. Here we go. I like the fact that I use the 1.5 inch for tails. Some of the kits I only give you enough 1.5 inch to make a bow. But now that I'm buying more in actual full you know, full spools of ribbon in boxes of 12. I'm able to do that easier. All right, we've got 3 more to go, so I'm gonna pick up the pace here. Picking up the pace. All right, we have Cruffle. Cruffle, Cruffle, Cruffle. All right, putting that in. Straddling the pipe cleaner, one over the bottom, one over the top. Give it a nice tight tug and a twist. And then we're going to overlap left over right so that it makes a circle shape. But you guys have been doing this. You know now. Here we go. All right. Get me that ribbon. Here we go. I've also decided that this year I bought those gift bags on TikTok. Have you guys seen those? Where basically it's just a cute little bag and it's got a drawstring at the top. Yeah, so that's how I'm wrapping everybody's stuff this year. If it doesn't fit in a bag, you're not getting it. I was undoing all the stuff underneath my stairs. I was pulling out all the holiday decor because that's where I put it. We call it Harry's room because it's the room under the stairs. And I put all the gift wrap related stuff into my stepson's old bedroom down in the basement. And there's like 8 bins of stuff. And I'm like, this has to go. Some of the stuff I've had forever. I don't need it. But I'm trying to wait until my daughter buys a house next year to see if there's anything she wants from that. And then I'm going to try to start really getting rid of stuff. I don't want my kids to end up having to go through all my massive piles of stuff should I kick the bucket unexpectedly. I just don't want to do that to them. I watched my daughter and son have to do that with their dad's house, and it was very stressful for them. So I don't want to put them in that same situation for me if I can avoid it. But you know, I am a hoarder. I still have my Barbie dream house from when I was a kid. Tina, your mind went there too, and that's why I like you, girl. That's why I like you. The best way to store wreaths, Sharon, I would say try not to lay them down. If you do lay them flat, you know, they do sell those wreath cases. They're like usually red with like a clear lid. You can get those, you know, for maybe like $10 a piece. Wait till after Christmas and then they'll have those on sale at Target. So those work nicely. But honestly, if you have a lot of wreaths, I bought a garment rack. That's how I store my wreaths, in a garment rack. And then I just have shower hooks, cheap, you know, $1.99 shower hooks that are metal from Walmart. And I just use that to hang them on the racks. If you go back and look at some of my videos on my channel, and when you see me kind of like setting some stuff up for a craft show, I'll do one this weekend. But hanging them on the racks, to me, I think they end up staying in better shape. But you've got to maybe put them in a bag or something, because when you butt wreaths up against each other when they're hanging, they're going to snag on each other, because, you know, mesh by nature is a snaggy. Snaggy? Is that a word? It snags easily, right? So you don't want that to get messed up. So I did buy bags from IKEA. They're zip bags. One is called, oh gosh, what are the names of these now? I can't remember the names, but because they're like some weird, you know, Swedish name that I don't know. But there's 2 different bags. One is great for the pancake wreath. They're in like the section where you would go for like a closet and clothing storage. And there's zipper bags, and they have 2 zippers, and they zip up, and then they can zip up to the middle, so they can zip up to where your hook is. And they've got real big, thick ones. Gorsnig is one of them. Gorsnygg. Gorsnig. I don't know. I'm not Swedish. I can't speak that. But that's one of them. So I got those from IKEA. But honestly, even just a good old plastic 45-gallon trash bag over it will keep it from snagging. I think that's the main thing, because you don't want to stack your wreaths on top of each other without them protected. Otherwise, everything's going to get squishy. I mean, ideally, if you had like a whole empty closet to hang them in, that'd be great. But who has that? I mean, I do, because I've kicked all my kids out of the house. No, I didn't kick them out. They all left of their own accord. They grew up, except for the youngest. But that's a very good question. Hey, you're hanging yours high on the garage posts. That makes, you know, it's wherever you have room to do it, right? You know, as long as they're protected from dust and they're not getting squished, then you got to kind of put them where you can. Not everybody has the luxury of a lot of space. So it's hard, but you put so much work into making stuff that you really want to make sure that you store it nicely so that it doesn't end up getting squished. But again, wired ribbon is our friend for that very reason. All right. And you know what? This mesh has not been fraying that much at all. A couple little pieces, like you might find a couple little, I call them chin hairs, right? Because God knows I got chin hairs. Oh my gosh. I got like a 5 o'clock shadow going on right now. And I just plucked last night. But, you know, you're always going to find little hairs like that or little pieces you're going to want to give a little snip to. But that's okay. That's all right. It's not too bad. Here we go. This is the last set of ribbons we're doing, guys. Last set of ribbons. Bend it in half. Here we go. Whew. All right. All right. So this wreath typically ends up 22 inches wide, and like when you flatten it down and you put a bow on it, usually ends up 4 inches deep. You can fluff your bow to make it fluffier if you don't have to worry about putting it in a storm door, but when I know it's for a storm door, I'll make it, you know, where the bow is wide but flat. So it looks like my butt. It's wide and flat. Oh, I swear to God, if I bend over, you can watch a movie on my ass. I never had a nice behind. Never had it, never will. All right, so this is how thick it is. It's not terribly thick, all right? So here we go. Now, let us talk. Let us talk sign placement. I'm getting my E6000 and everything and this prepared to get the cap off the E6000. You're like, what are you using that for? That keeps getting glued shut, so I have to use that. So there's different options. You can decide you can just put it in the center if you want to. You can put it a little higher up. And then put a couple other mini bows down there. You can put one larger bow down there. I think that's probably kind of how I might want to do it this time. Is I think I kind of want to put a small bow down at the bottom. So I'm going to have this sign kind of come up. Now I'm going to put the pipe cleaners in at spots that are already here. So what I'm trying to do is put the sign over here, and my fingers underneath are aligning with where those pipe cleaners are. So I kind of know where I need to put that. But I'm making sure that is 12 o'clock. This is 6 o'clock. Okay. So I'm kind of looking at it again like a clock, and I'm typically going to put something maybe at like, that's going to be 10 o'clock and that's going to be 4. That's going to go a little higher. All right. One there, one here, and I'm going to grab another one. Sorry, you're going to see my head. All right. Ah, they're all falling out. I'm going to add another one just because I want to make sure it is really, really secure. I'm going to add another one just on the same side here. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to move my wreath off to the side or over there because I don't want to get any glue on it. Okay. All right. I'm going to take the backing off. Do you guys know the first time I did this when I was following along? I was watching one of Damon's videos where he was doing it, and I forgot to take the little paper off. So like that glued down there just fine, but then when I went to like stand it up, like the paper stayed super glued to the sign, but the rest of this fell off. Yeah. Look. I'm not the smartest bulb in the bunch, guys. I'm not the smartest bulb. Oh, so Sharon, you were putting each one in separate boxes. It does take up a lot of room like that. It does. I mean, that's kind of the problem. So maybe try to think about just keeping them hung and then just kind of put them somewhere. Or that garment rack that I get, if you if you go on my profile, there should be a link tree, and then I got a section for my favorite things for Amazon. Go look there, because that is the rack that I use. It's got 2 levels, so you can get double hanging, and then it extends out the top even further. So I could hang, I think, almost like 18 wreaths on one rack. And they're about $40 a piece, but it's really worth it for me. But then again, I sell a lot, and I need a lot of room for storage. All right, let me I'm gonna grab a pin here. I've got to pop a pinhole the top of my glue. All right, ew, hold on, I had to wipe that off, that was gross. All right, now I'm gonna just add a dab of glue and in the center of each of these cable tie mounts, okay? Not adding a lot, because the hole is really tiny because of the previous glue kind of glommed on there. All right, so I'm doing 3 just because I want it to be extra secure. My kits only come with 2, but you can always add an extra one on there. Okay, so this one was going down kind of almost like in the corner as far as we can get it, and then these were kind of like right here. All right, because the sign is going to be a little higher up, because I'm going to have a bow down at the bottom. All right, so making sure those are even. Now, they're on there, but this takes like 24 hours to cure. So what we do is we take our glue gun and we go around, and I'm adding glue. I'm making sure I'm hitting both the sign and the black cable tie mount. So this is going to be what kind of holds it on there until that E6000 fully cures. And I have not had any of them pop off on me, fortunately. I do use Gorilla Glue, though. The Gorilla Glue, it really does make a difference, like here in the Midwest, because when things get really cold, they can pop off. Which is why usually, like when I use a wood frame, I will staple my pipe cleaners onto the back. All right. I'm going to move that over there. That needs to sit and dry. While that is drying, my friends, it is time. I was going to do the whole Mariah Carey start singing, "It's time," but I can't hit those notes and I don't want to hurt your ears. Okay, we're going to make the bow. We're going to make the bow. Who wants to make a bow? Oh, oh, who wants to make a bow? All right. This is going to be our tricky one because it's directional, but I'm going to show you a little trick that I do, how I like to use my directional ribbon. But I'm going to start with this red as the base, okay? I am going to dovetail. There we go. I've dovetailed it. Let me try to bring this up more so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, bringing this over. All right, here we go. I'm gonna have, what kind of a tail on here? I'm gonna go for a 9-inch tail on here. Okay, we can always change this later if we want to. Sorry, I moved my mouse. I don't want to go clicking stuff and accidentally. Yeah, I did that. I need to get back into the video. There we go, comments. So Vicki, this is actually a wreath kit available in my shop, sweetariadecor.com. If you go there, that takes you to Etsy. If you click on the categories, you can pick wreath kits, and then you can see all the different kits I have. I give you the frame, the mesh, the ribbons, the sign, the pipe cleaners, and the cable tie mounts, and then written instructions. Right, so you can get everything you need all in one spot. All right, so I've made a 9-inch tail. All right, and now I'm bringing this loop over, okay? This is the Easy Bows Design Pro, by the way. This is my wreath making, my bow making tool because I've got tendon issues. All right, I'm not one of those people that is a snob about, well, I can make it by hand. Okay, well, goody for you, but I'm not going to do something that hurts my hand, right? So I'm going to put this in here. I typically like to have my first layer be a 6-inch bow because I want this bow, it's going to be here, but I want it to come up and be able to cover that spot and that spot. So the 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock positions when the bow is attached at 6. So that's why I do maybe even a little bit slightly bigger than 6. We'll do like 6 1/4, okay? And then when I put it back through down here, I am also pinching and twisting on the right-hand side, okay? So you can see this is pinched and twisted right in the center here, okay? it's not that big of a deal for a ribbon like this because it's kind of hard to tell what's the front and back. But when you get something with a pattern on it or a more intricate design, then it's an issue. All right, so over on this other side, I'm going like 6 1/4. Okay. Now on my left side, I am pinching and twisting. Okay. I'm going to make another set of loops. Okay. I'm going to go the same width as the other one. It was just a little bit past 6. All right. I like to just make sure that it hits the same spot there. And I'm not flattening it down. I'm just kind of letting it still have a curve. Pinching and twisting on the right. Okay. And doing the same thing over here. So I've got 2 loops at like 6 1/4, and then it was a 9-inch tail. Okay. So I'm going to bring this tail over. I'm going to go cut it past 9, like 9 1/4, because once I dovetail it, that extra little bit is going to come off. All right. Okay, so then we have our bow. Now, I want to have that loop come up and have that loop down. And on the other side, I'm going to have that topmost loop come down and the bottom one come up. So it's opposites, okay? All right, so this is our first layer. I can fluff it up if I want to, but if I need something narrower, then I can just kind of have it where it's just slightly fluffed, but it's like only about that tall. All right, now it's the directional ribbon. Jeannie, you're a snob that you can do a bow in the bow maker, right? You know, and there's no shame in the bow maker game, right? You know, it's why would I hurt myself if I don't have to? And then, like, knowing me, if I gotta pee, I can just, like, walk away and leave it. It's fine. Because with me, that's kind of a thing. All right, so this is directional. So I can't start down here, otherwise he's going to be upside down. He can be happy. I have to start up at the top. So I'm starting on the right-hand side, okay? And I'm going to make a tail. I'm putting it where the tail, the tips of the tail kind of touch just below where that bottommost loop sticks out. So this is touching at 6 inches, okay? All right, I'm putting that in. Now on the left-hand side, I'm pinching and twisting so that I am looking at the back side of the ribbon. This is very clearly here, the back side of the ribbon. I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to have this loop, because this one was a little past 6. This is going to be a 5 1/2, okay? 5 1/2 inch. And then this tail is going to come down. All right, now I cut it a little bit shorter than where that was, so I'm going to cut it at like 8 1/2, because when I dovetail it, then it is going to be like 8 1/4. That's going to hit at 8. It hits at 8, okay? So what we've done is made half of the bow. Half of the bow. Now, he's not upside down. He's kind of just sideways here, right? Because that tail come up. There's that. So he's sideways. So I think he's okay. I don't think we have to twist him. If we wanted to, if you wanted it more up, if you wanted to make another loop, all you would have to do is grab the loop closest to the inside of the bow maker and then twist the whole loop. And that changes the direction of the whole loop. So that is how you could deal with it like that. Or maybe you want to just add in a tail and then not have the tails up at the top. You want to make just all loops. And then just fix your last tail that's going down so he's not upside down. You can do that too. Okay, here we go. That's going to hit, it was hitting at 6, right? Yep, okay. I'm going to pinch and twist. Make sure, I like to hold them together to make sure that they look good. They do. It's like when you get your bangs cut and they like, or your hair cut and they kind of like pull it around your chin to make sure like the length is the same. It's the same concept. Okay, pinchy twisty. All right, now this loop is going to be 5 1/2, just like the other one. All right, and then cut this off like a little past 8, and boom, dovetail. Boom, there we go. All right. Okay. There we go. All right, let me hold it up for you with the bow maker and kind of show you where it's at. So this is what it looks like right now, okay? And that's kind of how tall it is. We haven't squished it down yet, so it's going to go much thinner than it is, but that's kind of how we handle the directional ribbon. All right, now we're going to put on our 1.5 inch. And this one, I do like to have a cute little loop in the center. I mean, if you had like a little gingerbread ornament or something, you could do that instead of putting on a loop. But my kit does not come with that, so I'm going to make this kit exactly as people would get it. So this is the 1.5 inch. And that tail is going to hit at 7 inches. Okay, I've dovetailed it. It hits at 7 inches on the right. I pinch and twist, bringing that over. That was a little past 6. That was 5.5. This loop is going to be 4.5. Okay, 4.5 inches. Pinch and twist. Coming over to the other side. Make a 4.5 inch. And sometimes you have to move your loops out of the way to see where it aligns. All right, checking that. Looks like 4.5. This is 4.5. All right, the pinch and twist again because I want another set of loops for sure. Making sure that that matches right there. Looking good. 4.5 inch on the other side. I tell you, I've used a lot of different bow makers. I have a Bow Deborah. I had a Pro Bow the hand, and I used that for a while, and that one was too complicated, and the loops just ended up looking too old-fashioned, I guess is the word I'm kind of looking for. So, like, I like to make a lot with this. I like to make the terry bows. Those are fun. All right, so let's talk how many more loops we need. I think we're good, okay, because I'm going to have one loop up here and one loop down. So I'm putting these loops between the gingerbread. Now, the reason I don't want to put one in the middle is because it would start going over the text on the bottom of the sign. So we don't want to cover that text, okay? So that's why I'm just doing that. But now, instead of just coming down with the tail, I need to flip this because we have to make our cute little center loop, okay? So I'm going to put this over here. I like to put 3 fingers in here. So I've got 3 fingers, which gives me about a 2-inch loop, okay? And I'm going to bring this tail down. And I'm just going to measure it against the other tail. So I'm going to cut it a little bit longer. And then just give it a dovetail. All right? A little snippy snippy. There we go. Okay? Now I'm going to take my chenille stem, which is such a fancy word for a pipe cleaner. If we were kids of the 60s and 70s and the 80s, you know, it's just called a pipe cleaner. All right? I'm going to pull this whole thing up. I'm pushing down from the top as I pull up from the bottom. Keep it all together. It's a BLT sandwich. Don't lose your layers. Okay? Hold on. I'm going to poke that right through my fingers so it goes underneath the center of the bow. Wrap it around to the center. Grab both ends. And then here's where I push it down on the table. And then I give it a real tight tug and a good twist, right? Because the tighter you can make it, the more your loops are going to pop. Which on a thin wreath isn't that big of a deal because you're not trying to get super, super loopy loops. But, okay, so here we're going to start with the back. Bring your fingers down the tails, okay? Then there's our red layer. All right, the red looks good. Now let's look at our gingerbread. That one goes between the red, and then that one goes over the top. Okay, let's run our fingers down the gingerbread. All right, now let's make our fingers, put the fingers in the loops here for the 1.5 inch. Now put your fingers in here and then bring it to the center. All right, so then, hey, it looks really cool in the center, but both our tails are still to the same side. So we're going to take the bottom one. I like to take the bottom one and pull it over. So it looks like it's coming from the other side where it's supposed to have come from to begin with. All right? All right. But I kind of like to keep those in the center. Poke that out. There we go. All right. Okay. I'm going to move my bow maker off behind me because we're going to go put on the sign and then we're going to put on the bow. So I have 3 pipe cleaners here. All right. I'm going to just put these right through, just put them right through. There's holes in here. So you see how it straddles that? Do it evenly in the center and then just give it a nice twist. There we go. Cable tie mounts are awesome. Zip ties are awesome. Not only can you craft with them, but you can also subdue an intruder. You never know. And then I had this other one. I could have put a fourth one down there if I wanted to, but I think it's good. I just added this other extra one at the top just for added security. All right. So again, making sure we're putting this at a 6 position at 12 o'clock, like a clock, okay? I'm going to put my first one here at 4 o'clock, all right? So I'm literally just going to put the pipe cleaner right over those other spots. If you separate the ribbons, you should see it's almost a path that's pre-made for you. And just kind of push the pipe cleaner down in through that. Now you might have to kind of push to get it around the other layers. You know, the one behind the second level, the second ring, and then one over the top. Okay, so it's straddling just like that, and then I'm going to pull it underneath, and here we go. All right, don't pull too tight because again, this is only on here right now with a little bit of glue. And I like to make sure that this is just on there over rings 1 and 2. All right. So then I'm just going to twist this. I'm going to leave at least a good 2 inches on here. I'll cut off the rest. Because if I want to reposition my sign, I want to be able to have enough leverage to do it. So I'm just going to bend this down around the frame and then just bring it around the back. Okay? Now there's nothing on here that's going to scratch your frame. But since it's upside down, let's check for stray hairs. There we go. All right, I'm going to flip it, holding my sign. All right, so my 4 o'clock position is attached. All right. Now I need to add over here. Now, this should hopefully get us close to the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock positions over here. And let's see. Might have to go a little higher up. So I'm going to end up going between. I'm going at 11 o'clock here, which means I'm not going over those pipe cleaners. I'm going in between. I'm going to pierce the mesh with the pipe cleaner. Sometimes you can just kind of put your finger underneath it and kind of guide it. And I want to make sure it comes out after ring 2, and then this other one is going to go through the mesh. Normally, I don't propose pushing your pipe cleaners through the mesh, but because the sign is a little higher up, it's not aligning with the clock positions, I guess we would call them. All right. I feel like that's got to come over a little bit more. All right. I'm going to twist that. All right. Kind of push that around. Wrap it around the frame. Here we go. And I'm trying to make sure is that this stays centered. This is my 6 o'clock position down here, and it's not really aligning centered with the wreath right now. So I got to redo this. I don't like the placement of it. I'm going to redo it just so it moves it further down, because right now it's not centered. It is, you know, I like the height placement, but the center placement isn't right. Uh-oh, this came off. I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. I should have done that sign before. All right. Ugh. I'm stuck on something. Here we go. All right. Hold on, guys. I'm going to go back around with some hot glue. Let that sit there. Get on there again. Get on there again. All right. I'm just going to hold it up while that solidifies. Because if I put it on right now, it's going to stick to the ribbon and stuff. So while we're waiting, we'll just talk. We'll just talk. Oh, Sharon, I'm glad I like to use good quality materials, because if you're going to go through all the effort of making something, you don't want it to end up, if you don't want it to, the mesh really frays and stuff, so it's always such, you get what you pay for, I guess. So people can do Dollar Tree quality mesh and ribbons, and if that's their budget point and that's what they can do, that's great. But if you can afford to do a little bit higher quality ribbon and mesh, it does last a lot longer. I'm going back. I'm going back to look at my comments. All right. Jeannie Owens, you can't do it. It's so daunting to people with bow makers. Yeah. Oh, Jeannie got a bow maker 5 years ago and usually forgets you have it. You know, sometimes we do forget what we have and stuff, but I think using a bow maker helps. It helps me make sure that my loops are evenly sized on either side. I think that's the big thing for me. Because sometimes my loops, I want to make sure that they don't, you know, get whacked. Okay, so that, I can put it down now. It's not going to stick on there. I'm going to work on the one on the other side. But I'm trying to make sure, see, this is like the 6 o'clock position. All right, so I'm working on the other one right now because I'm going to let that one set up. I don't want to mess it up. Here we go. Okay, so I'm working on this one. I'm literally just going to push it through the mesh. And I'm going just slightly to the right of where the ribbons are attached. So if I were making this centered, I could have just gone right where those pipe cleaners and ribbon were already attached. But because I'm trying to do this a little more, trying to make sure that this aligns with, that's my 6 o'clock position, so this has to align well, right? All right, so I'm gonna twist it underneath. I'm not gonna flip it over just yet. I'm gonna wait and get the other one on, and then I'll flip it both at once. Okay, I'm gonna be real careful with this one because it's not super on there, right? That E6000 was still curing. All right, so I'm just gonna pierce that mesh just slightly to the north of the 10 o'clock. So I guess it's kind of like, it's like 10:30. It's not quite 11 o'clock. If I can get technical with it. There we go. Okay, I've got that coming through. I'm going to straighten this out better. It's easier to pierce it through when your pipe cleaner is straight. But because I had already tried to twist it, that one is a little wonky. That's all right. I mean, sometimes crafting is just trying something and taking it out and doing it again. Until you find something that you like and you find that that's where it needs to be. You know? Nothing's ever perfect first time out. Okay. I think this is good. I'm not going to over twist. I'm not going to pull too tight. I will double check it tomorrow once it has stuck on there real good. Okay, but that's why I like to make sure I leave lots of extra pipe cleaner so that I can move my sign if I want to. So let's flip it over and see what it does. Holding on to this really nicely. Okay. All right. Okay. 6 o'clock, moving up. Here's our 12. It looks good. It looks good. I want to go around now and move my ribbons so that on the top row especially, so that everything looks good. I want to make sure that my 1.5 kind of covers all that, especially up at the 12 o'clock position, because that gets a lot of, you know, it's where your eye goes almost right away visually. So we want to make sure that that looks good there. I can bring these out. All right, so it's really just kind of like a final, do we like where this is going to go? And then we will put the bow on. All right. And it might take a little while to kind of train your bows where they need to go, because don't forget, they've just been freshly cut, freshly bent and put into here. So they do settle down as time goes on. They learn their place. I guess they learn where they need to go. It's kind of like a marching band. When you first learn a formation, you're like, well, I think I'm kind of over here. But then by the time you've practiced enough, you're like, I know my spot. I know exactly where I need to go, and I'm going to stay there. I was in marching band. I marched with a bass clarinet. I don't recommend it. I chipped my teeth. And it was very big. And to be walking like that with something in your mouth that big, it was like trying to walk and give a Beige at the same time. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's very difficult. I ended up with back problems and all this other stuff and hurt my teeth. But I loved it. band nerds are awesome. Some of my best friends were with the band, and I'm still friends with them to this day. Granted, we're all over the country, so now we're just on Facebook, but that's okay. That's how I found my group of people. All right. Just like to make sure these are all looking good. All right. Because there's nothing worse than when I go to take pictures and all of a sudden I can see that the V shape has really opened up with the ribbons. You don't really want to see that it's a V shape. You want to see it should kind of just look like a whole half rainbow. All right, and just get this bottom one, and then we're going to go put on the bow, which we've already made. So it's the last thing we have to do, other than, this is not included, but I like to take a zip tie. I come up to the top point, and I put a zip tie. I put it underneath the outermost ring, but I put it over the spine. This is how I used to hang it. Sometimes people will use it to hang from the wreaths, but for storage and stuff. And then it's nice and flat. It doesn't go sideways, right? So it's nice and flat, and it doesn't make it want to turn. All right. So let's bring it around. All right, and bring our bow over. And we're going to do just like we did with the sign. Down here, right here, is where we're going to attach it. Right down there, okay? It's going to be cool. I'm very excited about this one. It's fun because I was planning these kits for a while, and then to see them come to fruition and get them all bagged up, and then now to make it, it's really cool. I love putting together wreath kits. I actually think I like the supplies more than I like making wreaths. Does that make sense to anybody? Am I the only one? I think I'm more obsessed with the materials than the making process, which is why I've kind of branched out into trying to sell more supplies. Because my shop does carry, I've got ribbon and I've got mesh. Most of it is wreath kits, but I do have some stuff I haven't even posted yet. I got to get pictures taken and stuff. It's crazy. All right, I'm going to try to move this bow. I'm going to try to pull it down a little bit when I'm trying to twist my pipe cleaner. Just kind of pull it down a little bit because we've got to move those tails so that they are not impeding your view of any of the text, right? So here we go. Here we go. All right. Tails, loops, 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 loops. It's the top tails with the gingerbread. But I got to make sure I kind of come over more to the side. All right, and then making sure that the 1.5 inch straddle the gingerbread. And then these red ones, kind of pulling them down. All right, and then that loop kind of comes up, makes it loopy loopy. All right, we've got it perfect. I got the word movies centered right between the gingerbread dudes. All right, so they are all set. Putting the red tails down, flanked by gingerbread, followed by the stripes kind of coming back over the red. All right, we are finished. All right, there we go. And I can even, you know what I might even do? I'm going to shorten these a little bit before I hold this up. I'm just going to shorten those tails just a little bit, just maybe like 1/4 inch, but then it's less text that they can cover up. All right. There we go. I just want to bake cookies and watch Christmas movies. Here we go. We have finished our wreath. Now, from length, if we go down to the bottom of where that hits, this is hitting at about 26 inches, but it is 22 inches wide. You could always make your bow shorter. You can trim your tails. It doesn't have to be that long. But here we go. I just want to bake cookies and watch Christmas movies. Yes, that's exactly what I want to go do. All right. Thank you to the Hallmark Channel for sponsoring the rest of my evening. All right, let me move it back. Make sure you guys can get a good view. All right, here we go. I'm going to take you guys off of the stand here. Take you with me. Okay, here's a good backed up view. There we go. Awesome. Right, sharing kits are great for people who don't have $1 million of supplies taken over, right? You just want to get, I just need the stuff to make this wreath and I don't want to have a lot of stuff left over. Now, speaking of leftover though, there is enough left over on these spools that you can make another bow or even possibly two. So you can use this and then you can perhaps add those matching bows onto a lantern, or you could perhaps have made 3 smaller bows and attached one there, and one there. You can do that as well. So that's always fun.
And here is the completed wreath. I just want to bake cookies and watch Christmas movies. Absolutely. Now this is thin enough for a storm door, but it's also great for narrower spaces like a kitchen door or perhaps a pantry. You can find this at sweetariadecor.com. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me all over social media, and you can shop my store at sweetariadecor.com.